I specifically just got sick all of a sudden. I don't know what happened, but the second I started turning on the cameras, I started feeling like crap, and the fucking allergies are getting all wacky. So I don't know what the fuck. But disregarding my stupidity and nonsense that doesn't really matter, let's get into American Horror Story. Hello everybody, John12 back here again with another video, and I'm back with another Halloween season TV show review. Yes, last week I gave you my official review for Netflix's original series, Stranger Things, and of course if you haven't checked it out, please do so already because I really appreciate it. But disregarding any of that, I'm here to talk all things American Horror Story. And no, I'm not here to talk about Roanoke. I'm here to talk about the season that started it all with this anthology series craze, and that is, of course, Murder House. Yes, Murder House. I'm here to give you my official reviews about it. And this, for those of you who don't know, this is basically my little trend for the remainder of October 2016 as just video reviews for viewers out there that are just, I guess you can say, my signature of approval, recommendations for binge-worthy seasons and or shows that you should definitely check out to get the Halloween feels this season. American Horror Story is a FX TV series that was created by Brad Falchuk and Ryan Murphy and stars Connie Britton, Dylan McDermott, Teresa Farmiga, Evan Peters, Dennis O'Hare, and of course Jessica Lange, and essentially centers around a story of a group, family specifically, moving into a new town in LA, into a haunted house, haunted with ghosts who are obsessed with sex, children, family, and start killing and murdering and just breaking and shattering the family apart, inch by inch, piece by piece, until they go mentally insane and, you know, horror stuff happens. It's a horror story. Shit's gonna go down, horrifying things ensue. And that's essentially American Horror Story. And American Horror Story Season 1 Murder House, this is my official thoughts on it, so there will be spoilers, so let's start off with my positives. Overall, there's a lot that can be said about Ryan Murphy's work, and he has done an amazing job with all these really cool TV shows he's developed over time, whether it be Glee, Scream Queens, and most importantly, American Horror Story. But at the end of the day, the thing that really, I guess, skyrocketed American Horror Story into mega fame that it is now has to be the actors and their performances. Jessica Lange kicks ass. Evan Peters is really good. Dylan McDermott and Connie Britton work perfectly opposite each other, and Dennis O'Hare is basically brilliant in every single project he's a part of. I mean, like, look at him in True Blood, look at him in Dallas Buyers Club, look at him in the multiple seasons that will be featured with him in American Horror Story alone. And also keep that in mind, the actors you will see a lot of in sequels to American Horror Story seasons. Seeing as how it is an anthology series, the creators find it necessary to reuse these actors, which I have no qualms with considering they are all brilliant. But not only the main actors, we get a whole bunch of really cool side acts. We get cool little actors coming in, playing and filling out roles to really deconstruct the family, like Kate Mara's character, who's obsessed with Dylan McDermott's character and creating a new family with him. And then you have Zachary Quinto with Teddy Sears, you know, fucking Spock and Zoom from The Flash Season 2. They're here and they're doing a whole bunch of crazy things. Their antics and their obsession with really not hating each other, or I guess not hate fucking each other. I don't know, their relationship was odd and weird, and I really don't want to think about it ever again, other than the fact that it introduced the iconic GIMP costume that is used profusively all over the marketing ploys in the posters and several sequences in the actual show. But with that being said and done, the performances alone are the biggest resonance within the American Horror Story staple. Jessica Lange and her character continues to just destroy. Evan Peters pretty much makes a name for himself within the American Horror Story staple. He is so good as the character of Tate, the way he falls in love with Teresa Farmiga's character and just really would do anything for her, and even go as far as to destroying everyone around him just to be with her. I mean, like, for fuck's sake, spoilers, the kid rapes her mom, you know, doesn't tell her that she's been dead the majority of the series, and I don't know, he fucking kills people and he doesn't even realize he kills them. It's fucking wacky. But hey, at least he's okay, and Evan Peters and the character of Tate love Nirvana, and if you know me, I love Nirvana, so I can sympathize with him in certain areas, minus the killing and the raping and the fucking and, well, maybe not the fucking, but you know, the other real wacky shit he does. Disregarding that, everyone else is awesome. If there's a character that definitely resonates with me that I loved, other than the fabulous Jessica Lange and the iconic Tate Langdon, played by Evan Peters, has to be Dylan McDermott's character. If there was something that really was the most focal point that I took away from the series in season 1 of Murder House, is how much Dylan McDermott's character was so capable of fucking up everything. He was so good at being in love with his family, being in love with his wife, being in love with his kids, trying to fall in love with his career again, however, fucking it up every single chance he had, whether it be with his side piece, whether it be the fucking jobs that he continuously fucked up on, whether it be the lies, whether it be his temptations that he continues to go off on, the murderous rampages that characters go off on. He was my favorite character. And if there's any regrets I have with his character, has to be less with his performance and more or less how the character ends. I feel like there's a lot of death that goes along with these TV shows. It's a horror show, so mostly there has to be deaths. And each specific character has, I guess you can say, a specific trait that adds to their death. Teresa Farmiga is kind of an emo outsider chick, so she kind of goes the way out of a suicide. You have Connie Bram's character, who really wants to start a new family, start anew, if you will, and dies in the process of creating new life. And then you have Dylan McDermott's character, who was so good at digging a hole for himself, and they didn't give him the proper death that he really deserved, which really always depressed me about Murder House, which was the fact that he really shouldn't have died the way he did. I'm not saying he should have lived. And realistically, when it comes to most horror stories, a terrible ending must happen. It just has to. However, I just feel like the ending of a murderous hanging between Kate Mara and the other murderous revenge-seeking characters of the Murder House really was the most lackluster part of the death of Dylan McDermott's character. I just feel like his character should have had and shared the same fate that is Kate Mara's character, where he was so obsessed with hiding and so obsessed with lying that the more and more deeper he dug a hole for himself, he should have just buried himself in it. And that's something that I really wish could have happened. But it is what it is. He died at the end of the day, like most of the family members, so it is what it is. But with that being said, mostly the characters are awesome. We get a whole bunch of really cool things. The Murder House itself is a very interesting aspect. It's a very obvious scope of interesting storytelling where you have characters that are just brought in. It's a spooky house. Shit goes wrong. But I think the cool aspect that Ryan and Brad took was their house is really alive. The characters have emotions. They have depth. They have actual feelings and personalities. And they have time to breathe and give actual development for these characters, like Tate or the various other characters we find, like the maid, which is played by 2 specific roles, and one you might most likely remember, which of course is the more sexier version, played by the actress who played, you know, that chick with the crazy kids in The Walking Dead who got killed really easily with her dipshit kids. Yeah, that chick. The chick that Rick was supposed to fuck but never did. Yeah, that chick. The maid was hot. I'm just saying, Dylan McDermott's character, why do you think I loved him so much? It was so hard. How do you live in a house like that that's so insane that drives you crazy, Jack Nicholson style, but you have that maid? Granted, she's old in reality, but who cares? Everyone's a ghost. Who gives a shit at the end of the day? Whatever, it is what it is. Now, over the course of Season 1 in Murder House, you start to discover specific tropes that obviously the creators will go on to influence majority of their scripts and stories in future seasons. But if there's something that definitely is a standout, that I guess is more or less a nitpick because it does cross over to positive and negative with the show, in my personal subjective opinion, is the sex. Sex fucking hardcore fucking. There's a lot of sex in this show. Now granted, I'm not saying sex can be a terrible thing. I'm saying that it's an interesting trope that a lot of writers like to put in the specific R-rated shows or specific programs, and the big emphasis is mostly in sex and attractive actors. And they used to do this a lot back in the day, and they still continue to do this, which is sex must be a major transition period, a transition to go from one scene to another. However, if there's something that definitely is the biggest standout out of all the actors, even the music, this creepy, psychotic, spooky stuff of the murder house and its history, has to be the fucking. The sex is insane. There is a lot of sex in horror movies. There's a lot of sex in a lot of projects, but there is a lot of sex in this season and with the entire series, which I find odd mostly due to the fact that when you think of entities like ghosts, you would never know that the supernatural was so obsessive and had such a high sex drive, because that's what majority of the ghosts are obsessed with in Murder House. Season 1, every ghost, every character is out for their own, but their main objective and obsession is sex. They want to fuck everyone. They want to fuck every single second within season 1. And maybe it's not really that big of a negative. It is one of those things that I guess could be a major trope and or theme that has made American Horror Story so relevant and prevalent with a lot of fans and viewers. So I can't really bash them too much for that. I just always found it odd. But overall, my major negative, other than just the nitpicks, it has to be really the fact that the series ended off with such a, I guess you could say, anticlimactic ending. I feel like, as a whole, the writing was always consistent, the directing was consistent, telling a story and a history within a fictional house was so interesting, and the characters within them had so much depth. The actors were phenomenal. Everything about Murder House was great. The ending, however, I never really bought into, and I always thought it was just interesting how they decided to just go with an anthology series. I'm not saying anthology series are awful or they're a terrible idea with TV shows. However, I just love those characters. I love that story. I loved and wanted to see what happened to them moving forward. What happened to the family post-Murder House? Did they stay there forever? Obviously they had to, but what happens if they fall in love with a new family who goes there? What happens to the future of their existence? What happens if they're going to be teased and, I guess, pushed in future seasons? What goes on with these characters in the day-to-day life? What happened to the child of Tate that goes with Jessica Lange's character in the future? Like, these are just simple, nitpicky kind of questions that I wish that the series could have went on with post season 1, but they just went on with an anthology series, and that's just the main real problem I had with it. But disregarding it, American Horror Story has been a consistent series. Granted, a lot of people can differ with that, and of course the main objective with these seasons and TV shows is to see the amazing performances, whether it be by Evan Peters, Jessica Lange, or any other recurring actor they have, whether it be Asylum, Coven, Freak Show, and so on and so forth. So it is what it is, but I always really wish that they could have just consistently stayed with one story. Kind of similar to what True Detective should have been, which is just the characters of McConaughey and just fucking Harrison just doing their thing, doing the detective stuff. Just continue their story and those characters rather than just doing an entirely new fictional characters and universes. But it is what it is. It's just one of those things you have to accept with the overgrowing population of an anthology universe. Regardless, my personal opinion is American Horror Story Murder House definitely deserves a watch. It definitely deserves a binge, and my final verdict for it is a solid 9.5 out of 10. I loved Murder House. My first viewing of American Horror Story, in all honesty, was Freak Show. That was the season that got me into this anthology series, and I went back to check out the previous seasons, and I fell in love with Murder House. I loved these characters. I loved the house itself. I loved the mythology and history that they created in such a short amount of time, and I just wish they could have followed more with that. But we did get a whole bunch of other interesting questions and stories and mythologies with the future seasons, so I can't really complain that much, but that's been my personal thoughts on American Horror Story Murder House. It definitely deserves a binge, and it gets my, I guess you can say, signature of approval this Halloween season that you should definitely check out and binge on. But with that being said and done, comment below. Let me know what you personally think about American Horror Story Murder House and my personal thoughts on the season, and overall maybe your personal thoughts on the sequels, the Asylum, Coven, I don't know, so on and so forth. Comment below and let me know what you personally think about it. And of course, next time I'll be doing my official review for True Blood. I don't know specifically what week I'll be posting it. I'm pretty much debated and divisive on whether I should do it the week of prior to Halloween or just post it on the day of Halloween. But regardless, it's more than likely going to end up on one of those two dates. So just keep on the lookout on my channel for that specific review. But of course, you should definitely check out American Horror Story Murder House before all else. And of course, check out my prior reviews, which are up on my channel. Shameless plug time! Follow me on Instagram at Jox12. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been Jox12.